I want to talk to you today about the PACT Act. I believe that your staff let you know what where we wanted to go with this.
Yes.
Obviously, it is a giant piece of legislation. It covers a lot of veterans. It's a very important issue. Just give me your thoughts on what you've heard and what you've seen so far on that.
It is a very significant piece of legislation, Josh. It goes to the fact that we've had a number of veterans that have served and have been injured. And this helps, particularly those that have been injured in a toxic environment, a chemical environment. It basically fulfills the promise that we have made to them as Americans that we will protect them and that we'll come to their aid. The expense is something that I wish were much smaller, but at the same time, our veterans deserve to be taken care of. That's a promise that's implicit in their service, and we owe that to them as Americans.
Yeah. So I take from that statement, you do support this
Yes.
legislation. It didn't get a lot of Republican support in the House, at least the first time through. I understand that if the Senate passes it, it'll have to go back through the House. What changes were made that you think that maybe more Republicans might support it this time through?
I think that they've looked at ways to move the cost down on the bill. Again, it's quite expensive, and I think a big part of the heartburn that people have had is the amount of money that it's going to require, particularly given the fact that we're in a deficit spending mode here in America. At the same time, I think many of my colleagues are going to look at this and realize that we have a duty to our veterans, and that if we're not taking care of them, nobody else will. So the aim of this is to fix that problem. It's been longstanding. And I think we're going to find more support, hopefully, as it moves back to the House. It's been improved here in the Senate, particularly with a focus on cost reduction where possible and appropriate. But also, I think that the debate and the discussion that we're having right now is going to be helpful to shape their opinion as well.
Sure. Can you tell me your process? I know when you have, especially a piece of legislation this large, you do a lot of research, you talk to people. Can you tell me a little bit of that process? Maybe some veterans you've spoken to, or things that you've read or accessed to kind of form your opinion on this?
Look, we've spoken with a number of veterans in Tennessee. I have 435,000 veterans who are my constituents in Tennessee, and it's my duty. It's our all of us here in the federal legislature. It's our duty to look after and listen to our constituents. Their concerns are manifest in letters, phone calls, conversations that they've had with me about needing to get this addressed. And I'm certainly, again, concerned about the cost of everything that's happening here in Washington. But this is an area where, when I look at our veterans, we have an obligation to take care of them.
Yeah, I've been doing some reporting, and I sent your staff a link to this. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not, but there's a man in Bradley County who was served in the Marshall Islands in the 70s and was exposed to, he was there to clean up atomic waste after the nuclear testing there back in the 40s and 50s. And the question I have is, I mean, that was 44 years ago. And this person's not alone, obviously, right? A lot of these veterans have waited decades to get this kind of help. When you hear that these veterans are waiting literally 2/3 of their life to just get medical bills paid, what are your thoughts on that? When you look at, our countries, we sent them there to do these things, and
Yes.
now they're suffering because of it.
Josh, I think you've articulated the concern very well. I haven't seen the actual link that you sent to my staff, but from the way you've described it, it's just the type of situation that this legislation is intended to address. It's heartbreaking to think that our veterans have had to wait as they've suffered. And what I hope this helps do is address that concern. We can't go back and remedy the time that they've had to wait, but at the same time, now we're at the point where we're going to fix it. And the price tag, as I mentioned, very high on this, but we have a duty and an obligation to support and take care of our veterans who have sacrificed so much and who, in the case you just described, have suffered a great deal.
Yeah, let me ask you this, my final question on this, and this is kind of related to it, but not specifically in this bill, right? Is that the way we fight wars today is that we obviously send our military, but we also send a lot of civilian contractors. And a lot of times those folks are exposed to the same things that our veterans are exposed to, but they're not taken care of in this bill. And obviously, being a civilian, you've got your own healthcare, health insurance, whatever. But any thoughts along that line, that we are sending more than just actual soldiers and Marines and sailors and those folks over there for these, and these exposures do go beyond our military as well?
Well, you're correct in that we do send civilian contractors along with many of our military operations. I think the goal is to try to keep them out of harm's way as much as possible. To the extent they've got their own contracts with their employers, their own health care, my expectation is that would take care of it. If there are situations where that's not the case, that certainly warrants another look. But I've not seen that rise to the level that this concern has, particularly with our own veterans who have served and were enlisted in our military.
All right, Senator Hagerty, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
Certainly, Josh. Thank you.
All right.